Great. Well, this was a little bit of an interesting topic. I know it's probably actually not going to take all that long for us to go through it, but also because we already sort of spoke about it in a different session. Nonetheless,
Mm.
I think given that the Olympics have started and it's a very timely subject and just an important subject overall, I did think it was a good article. So the paper was titled "The International Olympic Committee Framework on Fairness, Inclusion, and Non-Discrimination on the Basis of Gender Identity and Sex Variations Does Not Protect Fairness for Female Athletes," a perhaps controversial statement. This was done by, this was a study by Lundberg, or not a study, but a paper by Lundberg et al. 2023, and we read it in Alan Aragon's research review for the month of July. So, as the background was very brief, and it basically said the authors disagree with the International Olympic Committee's framework, which was recently published on fairness, inclusion, and non-discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sex variations. They argue that existing scientific and medical evidence is not consistent with this, and they question its recommendations for the implementation. It's a topic emotionally and politically charged, but again, important to discuss. So some of the points of contention were that males and females are physically different, and males have a category level athletic advantage. So the International Olympic Committee states that there should be no presumption of advantages based on biological or physiological characteristics. This is false, as males differ in skeletal size and structure, muscle mass and function, cardiovascular function, and pulmonary function. This is primarily due to the differences in testosterone production in teenage years and prior. That means determining eligibility for the women's division based on current testosterone levels totally ignores permanent physiological advantages of having been born male. This, by the way, on the left is a 100% female-born athlete. This is not a trans athlete, as in contrast to some of the other ladies we're gonna see shortly. Here, for instance. So other points of contention. Currently, male-born transgender individuals are allowed to compete if testosterone levels are below 10 nanomole per liter for at least 12 months, which is still many times greater than the upper end of the normal range for women. No study has demonstrated that male-born transgender individuals achieve physiological and physical equality with biological females. It is obvious that most of these individuals still retain advantages gained in earlier years. And here a rather long quote, but nonetheless I thought worthy of including. So the overwhelming body of evidence suggests that the effects, sorry, great typo, effects of testosterone suppression on critical metrics like body size, limb length, muscle mass, and strength are small, and that male development and thus male advantage cannot be reversed. Therefore, we contend that the current body of evidence demonstrating male biological advantage and the lack of evidence for its removal sorry, I have a ton of typos in here. With testosterone suppression provides a compelling basis for sports to adopt a policy that upholds segregated competition to ensure fairness and safety for female athletes. Again, this is another female-born athlete. The other two were trans. So case-by-case considerations, which the IOC suggests, is flawed in principle and unlikely to be practical or robust. Additionally, the IOC's level on fairness in elite sports should extend to all levels, not just high performance. Lastly, the International Olympic Committee states that those most directly affected by the existing eligibility criteria are transgender and intersex athletes, although female athletes themselves should have the ultimate say regarding eligibility. A possible solution potentially could be to have a third open category, urging the IOC to reevaluate their framework. So again, I know it was very short, but yeah, I think very important points. I know we spoke about the female powerlifter a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago. I think it's a super, super difficult topic because, of course, we want to make sure we're, accounting for everyone's possible or best possible situations and so on. But I think they're bringing out a very good point. We're in this, and with nowadays, I think sometimes we're almost overly concerned with, hey, let's make sure we're really making trans gender population feel included and so on, but we disregard that could actually sometimes come to the disadvantage, like in this case, of others. And so, for instance, with that testosterone level, if they're allowing up to 10 nanomole per liter, which is still many times higher than it would naturally be, you could almost argue like, okay, well then shouldn't other female athletes be allowed to quote unquote supplement or to, I guess, put dope with testosterone so up to a level of that. You could almost say that, and then at the same time you have the anti-doping association and so on. So it's like that's not fair either, right? Because if you allow up to 10 nanomoles, then you should allow up to 10 nanomoles across the board, whether they're female born or whether they're trans or whether they're female born and quote unquote doping, or like, that was some of the first things that came to mind for me. So yeah, any thoughts on your guys' side?
It sounds like the advantage begins in utero, even when the fetus is exposed to testosterone and the development changes at that point. So saying, okay, you're 25, let's measure your testosterone. Oh, you're equal. That just seems ridiculous to me. And if we do allow the female born athletes the possibility of quote unquote supplementing or doping, then how is someone who chooses not to do that to their body, who isn't comfortable with taking those hormones, to compete in their sport ever?
Absolutely. I mean, that's such a good point.
You
And
will need different categories. Like, as with bodybuilding, you can have
yeah,
enhanced
this
and
is,
not enhanced.
I to be honest, I think that would almost be the best way to go about it, because
That
then
is
you could.
actually the conclusion of the paper, right? Is that they need their own category, an open
Yeah,
category
of
where
course. But
anyone
I mean,
could.
yeah, but I mean, they did not necessarily mention that then anyone who is a natural born female but chooses to dope would be included in that open category.
No,
That's
no, that was
obviously.
our idea of
Yeah,
like
exactly. But
allowing.
but
It's
I think
just
that would be still the most fair one, because if you were just saying like, hey, okay, I don't want to transition to a different sex, but I'm choosing to elevate my testosterone levels, I should still be allowed to be included in that open category. In my opinion, my personal opinion. So,
I mean, there are a few things to unpack. I think it's a complex topic, and several things come to my mind. One of them is that these people are in a testosterone limbo because their testosterone level is way too low to be a male, but it's way too high to be a female.
yeah.
Like they are not in range of either female or male, which is where they are in a limbo, and they want to be included. And I understand that, but the fact that we include a few transgender athletes because it's a very niche
Hmm.
uh, 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 sport. It was like, I mean, you have transgenders, okay, not that many, but you have some. And from those, how many are athletes?
Yeah.
And then because you want to protect this small niche population, you disregard the effort of all the born female athletes who have worked their asses out for their whole life to get a chance and then to be crushed. But people who had a different choice, okay, I respect your choice, but it doesn't mean that then you can compete against me and just ruin my opportunity to shine. because it's absolutely unfair that I compete against you. You have an advantage that I cannot have. It doesn't matter how hard I train. So it loses all the point of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. No, exactly. That's a beautiful way to put it. It kind of loses the point of the competition. And I think like that open category could also be somewhere where then, women wanting to transfer, wanting to be male, be included as well. Because I mean, clearly, woman wants to or would probably be very likely to meet the criteria of entry for the now male category, so to speak. So having an
I
open
don't even have a criteria, because since there is no one like saying, oh, I'm a female born and I want to compete with the males, they don't have a requirement. If you want to, up to you. You do
Yeah,
you.
exactly. So that's why I mean it would be giving someone like that a chance, or even just the thought of like, hey, cool, I'm a transitioned male. I'm not good enough for that, but I want to, like, I don't know, but I think having an open category is a good idea. I do think the only, or not the only, of course, there's tons of issues with that, but one of the issues with that would potentially be another point that they're mentioning, which is um, if you have something like that, you have to have it across all levels. You can't just say like, okay, university, we don't have that, but we have that at a high performance level. You would almost have to start with an open category at elementary school. Like there's gonna be trans kids these days. If you start something like that, you would have to start it from the beginning. And where do we like how do you even from an organizational point? And you might only have one person in that, and then they're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so
like
this
it's
was what
ridiculous.
Meno argued in his video, that yeah, okay, it sounds good to have an open category, but from the practical point of view, how many transgender athletes do you have? Like, what's the point of competing if you have two competitors?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's
It
very,
might be
very,
that there is only one. And
yeah.
also, I mean, if you put it in school, and this is what my American friend living in Boston is telling me, that in the schools, things with inclusion of transgender are getting completely out of control.
Mm-hmm.
What she explained me is that she received a letter from her director of the school. We're talking about an 8-year-old boy that said, please do not use the word boy or girl, because you are determining the gender of the kids and it's not up to you to determine that. She has friends who work in the social services, and they say that if there is a teacher who says that you are encouraging your kid to be a male or female, that you're determining their gender before the teacher thinks it's time, they can take the kids and put them in a foster home, because you are mistreating your kids.
It certainly has some a spectrum in the US. I would not say that represents the entire opinion of everyone. I do agree it's gotten out of control in some ways, but it is a spectrum and it's not that way everywhere. That was an extreme
Okay.
example.
That's good to know.
But I will say that and I'm in California, which would be like at that end of the spectrum. Typically, this state is more to the extreme in that way, and I have seen some of that, but I do think that it's like a pendulum. I feel like it's starting to come back a little bit into like common sense because of the questions that we have, like how do we manage things like athletics?
Even
But I
just bathrooms, like how do you manage that situation if you like from kindergarten to, whatever level, you always have to have a
gender
So
neutral.
she
bath.
talked about it. She say that in her school, the bathrooms are now not gender classified,
Yeah.
Well,
because
see
there is
that
no
I,
gender.
on the other hand, like I would find that I wouldn't want my child to go to a gender neutral or a kindergarten with a gender neutral bathroom.
But
Like, to
you
be honest,
cannot choose. I mean, you have to move them to a different kindergarten.
It's the locker
And
rooms that are the problem for me. You can't shower with people of a different gender. I mean, it just
exactly.
doesn't make sense.
that's
But
normally new.
but I have seen trans athletes at the high school level on the swim team where we are in a really small place, really. And I do see that Gen Z kids are, I just expect this to grow. I expect it to not be so niche, that there will be more of this, because they're growing up in a very different like environment than the rest of us did. And I don't know, it's really interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it evolves. I think that it's on a spectrum. I think there's a pendulum swing that's going to happen, but it is really interesting, and there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even gonna play like devil's advocate because this is like if we're talking about high performance sports, people do crazy things for high performance sports or for that sort of recognition of being able to say like, hey, I've been an Olympic athlete, right? And so I could even I mean, people move around in order to be included in one country, or not country, because of course you have to have citizenship to be representing a country, but people even move around from places to be able to participate in certain sports somewhere. I could honestly almost say that some people that don't take this as seriously as it should be, that they're like for a year or so, or maybe not a year, but like, hey, okay, I'm gonna go through this phase, and then in 5 years' time, I'm transitioning back or what. Like, this is of course a horrible thing to say.
Lisa, it's not so crazy. It's. I have a friend who was competing in hammer throwing. She had mates from her team. They got pregnant for competition because they will have. I don't remember. I think it was they timed the pregnancy in order to have very high progesterone levels for the competition day, and then have an abortion. They
What?
just got pregnant
That's
for the
horrible.
competition.
Oh.
He was a hammer throwing athlete back in Peru.
Oh, that actually makes me sad. I'm like literally close to tears because I mean abortion is a
Yeah. Yes.
um
Yes. Just for the age of competing, because being hormonated is illegal, but being pregnant is not.
mm, wow.
And then you do that to your body every time you compete.
Oh God, that's horrible. I honestly I can't believe that because I mean I can't believe it, but that makes me very sad because
It
yeah, we're talking
gets
about
really
life here.
extreme.
Well,
Yes. Yes.
crazy.
But it could get really extreme, and I understand that people can do crazy stuff, and at least in bodybuilding there was a bodybuilder who did it just to prove the point, who say, well, I feel like a female today, so he competed in the female category and crushed all the records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go, now I feel male. Bye. There you go, here you have the records, now you beat that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's honestly, Allison, like you say, it'll be interesting to see where this goes in generations where that is more of a norm. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm glad that they put out papers like that where they're just, questioning. And some people might argue, oh, the IOC, that's a whatever, high level. We just need to take everything at face value. But I'm glad that there's actual, scientific papers coming out that are questioning this on a medical basis, on just on all kind of basis. So
It
yeah.
is very hard to do, because the moment you step out and say, well, I don't agree with this, then you are like, oh, you are a right side Catholic, close-minded. Well, I'm not,
Yeah,
but I don't think this is fair. It's the
exactly.
same with people like with fat phobia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I understand there are different types of body, but you're not going to convince me that this is a healthy
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. You can love it, you can be happy with it if you want, we can discuss
Mm-hmm.
self-acceptance, but it is not healthy
Healthy.
from a health
Yeah.
perspective, objective. But
Mm-hmm.
say that,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
God,
People, yeah, that's very true. And then you're
it
suddenly,
is the
yeah.
same. If you say, yeah, well, I don't agree with this, I don't think the transgender athletes should compete in the same category.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you are definitely right wing.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm a Latina living in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
Female dark skin living in Germany. I'm not, but I don't think this is fair.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, almost, yeah, a good comparison actually, and just a good example of how we're often like categorized very quickly. Mike, I'm curious, what's your perception of like transgender acceptance in sports and so on in the UK?
Um, I guess it would be really similar to you guys in a lot of ways. Again, I really liked the article. I really appreciated the perspective and sort of the spotlight that they kind of put on it. I guess I'm like really aware of my current bias in terms of, again, very similar to you guys and agreeing with the open category. And so like I'm curious about the counter arguments of transgender. Like, what would transgender people say encounter to this paper, in essentially, just out of curiosity, both from a male converting to female and female converting to male.
Mm.
Yeah, because I'm just, I don't know, would they say like, oh, would they go down the discrimination front, or, would they go down a different front? Would they agree, disagree? Yeah, but I mean, from a UK perspective in sport, I guess we're kind of quite similar to the US in the sense that we don't, I'm not aware of any specific categories. Again, transgender is certainly, from my experience as a physiotherapist working in sport, I never encountered anything both at a national level. I certainly didn't encounter anything at the Commonwealth Games a few years ago. So I think it's maybe still emerging in the UK to a certain degree, and maybe we're a little bit behind the US in that regards. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
a bit.
that's a great insight. And I mean, I'm always someone who wants to keep an as open of a mind, not as necessarily as open of a mind as possible, but like to get different perspectives. So I really think that's actually a very good point. I guess, Joyce, you living still living in Texas, in a very, traditionally Republican or conservative place, in contrast to California, etc., especially. What are things like in your perception there?
In my perception, and along with everybody else's, nobody really, I mean, they think it's unfair. I mean, I agree that it's unfair. I don't think that they should be able to compete with those athletes, but then I know there's that, you're leaving me out, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I know that transgender is getting more so popular, whatever you want to call it. Do I agree with it? No, I don't, but whatever. But
You feel the difference between Texas and Florida? Because I mean, Florida is meant to be more liberal to my knowledge anyway, and in the sense of what's more common, like for instance, in your grandson's school, or like does he talk about that, or people, like if you go to a restaurant, do they have more gender neutral bathrooms, that type of stuff?
I haven't really noticed that too much. Where Justin is, my family's at, it's more Republican, more so. I think Miami's more liberal
Gotcha.
for sure. But not basically where I've been at. I haven't noticed that. There could be, and just not there.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard of anything in the school or anything like that. Maybe one day maybe they'll have a league of their own or something, just like Special Olympics does.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You
guess
know,
you get like the open category essentially that they were saying.
yeah, so maybe they will. Yes, I do think it's unfair to the women, having to compete with the transgenders and stuff. I don't think it's fair. I mean, but maybe I don't know. I mean, who's to know? Maybe in 20 years something will evolve and come up. Who knows? But I don't see, but for Texas, yeah, it's absolutely a lot of republic. So more across like Austin towards that way, it's more liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here in this part, Corpus and stuff is pretty further down south, I guess. But as far as in Florida there, I haven't really noticed a whole lot. I mean, I hear people talk about it. I've seen a few here and there, but
Yeah.
nothing.
Well,
But the
thanks
next,
for the insight. I think it's always interesting what, like, in terms of geography, etc., or where we are, politics in general, what differences that makes. So I mean, that was all on the paper. I do have a few follow-up thought experiments slash questions again for you guys, but of course, if anyone has to slash wants to run, as always, feel free to do so. But I'm gonna again go through some. These all pertain to the paper in some way, shape, or form. Some questions, feel free to note them down, and then later on, we'll open it up again to kind of talking at least maybe about one or two of the responses that you might have. But give me a moment to bring them up. Okay, so just things to ponder upon. Again, if you have something to write on, maybe you want to take a note so that you remember the question. So the first question would be, what do you personally consider feminine or masculine? So that could be physical traits, let's just say nice glutes, or it could be you know, having a strong back. It can also be otherwise, you know, feminine traits often associated with more playful and more spontaneous and more a little bit erratic. I guess more masculine traits might be considered more goal-oriented, focused, sort of like, yeah, that kind of, whatever. I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but that's just what I mean by this question. So what do you consider feminine or masculine? That's the question number one. I'm gonna move on to question number two, and then I'll give you again some time to think about those. What feminine slash masculine traits are you personally proud of in yourself? So depending on whether you're a man or female, but also everyone has some traits in them that they might consider a bit more masculine, even as a woman, or more feminine, even as a man. So can be physical, can be otherwise, once again. So the second question was, what feminine or masculine traits within you are you proud of? If I'm going too fast, please do tell me. Then question number three was, what sports do you consider particularly feminine slash masculine? Can be any kind of Olympic sport, can be any different sport, doesn't matter. So what do you associate more with? More men do that or play that, or more women play that or do that? And question number four, that might be a bit tricky, and not everyone can answer that because not everyone has children, but just an imaginary thing. How, and this is, yeah, a very, very big question, I guess, but how would you respond if your child wanted to be, wanted to transition and be part of the feminine or the female category in the Olympics? And then I guess kind of removing from those prior questions again, I guess we spoke about that, but the last question was just, how would you suggest schools deal with this, for instance, during school competitions? But we kind of touched on this, so maybe let's focus on those first four questions. So the first one was, what do you consider feminine or masculine, just in general? What feminine or masculine traits are you proud of? What sports do you consider particularly feminine or masculine? And then just in regards to your child, how would you respond if they wanted to be part of this, the transgender category or subcategory within the female competition? So I'm going to give you a few minutes. Maybe once you have, you know, thought of responses to 2 or 3 questions, then you can put a thumbs up in the chat box, but we'll definitely give another 5 minutes or so, I would say.
Okay, I don't know how to give the thumbs up here right now. I'm on a new iPad, but thumbs up.
Well, that's good to know. Melissa also is. Joyce, have you thought of one or two or three of those questions? Yep. Was that a thumbs up? Cool. All right. Well, we can, you can start with any of those questions. So who would like to respond to any of them first?
I'll start.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. In regards to sports, what I consider to be more feminine would have to be figure skating or like ballet, if you consider that a sport, but something like that, anything that requires like grace and just femininity, that kind of stuff. For male sports, football. I can't think of anything more, manly than all the guys on the weekends on Sundays drinking beer and then just screaming at the TV, throwing, pigskin that looks weird. But I'm obviously not a football fan. So, yeah, like I consider baseball to be very gender neutral because I enjoy baseball, but that's just me.
Yeah, and for me, like baseball and softball are somewhat similar. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I get you.
So if I had a child who wanted to transition, absolutely not until you get life experiences. If you are a child, let's just say it's child sports under 18, I would say absolutely not. But that's just me. I live in California, but I have more conservative views. Not until you get life experiences, then you'll know. Like, I mean, I remember being in my late 20s, I still didn't even know myself. We're always talking about, let's find yourself. So if you don't even know that mentally and emotionally, you have no business changing your, gender. So anyways, the first two questions, I'll just defer to my colleagues since I already took up two topics.
No, cool. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
I think also, I might be wrong, but rhythmic gymnastics is only a female sport.
That's could be. Yeah, I don't think I've ever at least seen any men do that in the Olympics. That's a good point.
The one they make figures in the swimming underwater, that is only
No,
females.
rhythmic gymnastics is just on land.
No. I'm saying the one they swim on the water and they make figures on the water. I don't know the name of the sport.
Synchronized swimming, yeah.
Thank you. That is only female.
Okay. Also, yeah.
Oh, there is no male category.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mike, did you want to answer any of the other questions, or
Yeah,
what's a particularly masculine sport for you, for instance?
Ooh. Yeah, I liked Tammy's answer a lot. American football. That was definitely that made me smile. I would probably I think that's the main one. I think the other one. No, from a typical male sport, that's just so classic and stereotyped in my head now. I don't think there's anything else from a sport perspective. I will change the question though. So the first question, in terms of what traits do you consider typically masculine or feminine, I had a different thought that came into my head with that, and because I think in my head, like I would say, I would be quite classic / stereotypical in what's considered feminine and masculine. But the thing that came into my head was someone's energy, because I think that, regardless of whether you're, a male or a female, that actually you can embody different energies at different times. Like you could have a guy who's, a bit feminine in the moment.
First, yeah.
Equally, like you could have like a female who's like, a CEO, a boss, and actually she's got a lot of masculine energy qualities there. So I think there's that to consider. So I think you could have, again, I think there's like flux there. And I think if someone's embodying a certain feminine energy, then that kind of affects things.
Definitely. Cool.
But I'll leave it there as well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Defer to my colleagues, as Tammy would say.
I think I want to add to that as far as like what I'm proud of. And I like the way that you said that, Mike, about having like different things at different times. And I think for me, being a balance of what I consider to be feminine and also having some masculine qualities, I think that's what I'm most proud of, that I can use those when I need them. So in terms of femininity, I would say being nurturing, kind, and listening, and just those softer qualities. And then on the masculine side, so to speak, are the skills that I've developed in my work. Like I can confidently walk into a room full of strangers and give a presentation without being nervous, like those kinds of things. I'm proud that I'm able to do that, but I do find that to be a very type A sort of masculine quality. But on the softer side, I'm also like great one-on-one, gentle, a good listener. So I think the balance of being able to lean into whatever skill I need in the moment is what I'm proud of.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a great answer.
Joyce or Melissa, did you want to answer any of the questions?
About the sports, I thought on the synchronized swimming as a pure female because it is pure female, and and about the storm is moving stuff around me.
Oh,
Okay, and can't focus because the chairs are flying. Oh, come back. 1 second. Okay, and a male sport could be fights, martial arts, boxing, this kind of stuff. I see it as masculine. Of course, you can also compete as a female, but in my opinion, that looks masculine. I don't like football. I hate it. So yes, I would see it as masculine, but more the fighting sports.
mhm.
And if my kids would ever go to would tell me like, yeah, I want to go to the open category, I hope I never face that decision because it's horrible and I don't want to be in that place. I think I would support their fluidity, but it depends on at what age they tell me that. So in that sense, I agree with Tammy. Like, wait a second, let's see what life is really about, and then we'll talk about it. However, there is a twist to that. So in the kindergarten of my Luca, which is 5, there is a boy. His name is Gabriel, and he's wearing Cinderella dresses and braids and flowers, and there is no doubt there. Like he plays with the girls. He plays with dolls. He dresses with dresses, and I don't know how that is deal with like how it came. But now that I see him slash hair, there is not a doubt that it is a girl.
Mhm.
There is not like, yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. No, it is. I've seen him crying because his braids were not in the right place and his crown was not in the right place. And he's wearing tutus.
Mhm.
And Luca doesn't ask any questions. It's like, no, Gabri plays with the girls. There is nothing weird there for him. So I wish I'm never in that situation. And if the situation arrives when they are already mature and they have already like a bit of a clear mind, I think I will ask for some expert opinion or talk with a psychologist to get through this and make sure that it is really what he wants. And if this is what he wants, then I will support it. But depending at what age that comes. So not now.
Yeah, that's it.
Unless it happens like Gabri, which is extremely clear. Like crystal clear, this boy is a girl.
I think that's a very good answer.
Such a sensitive topic, and I have to admit, I feel a little emotional discussing it. It's really heavy for me. My oldest son had a friend who came out to their parents as transgender, and they were not. It wasn't received well. They were not supported. They were basically like, "No, you are not." I don't know how it went exactly, but he lost that friend to suicide. So,
Oh.
I'm feeling very emotional talking about it, but I think there's a lot of power in acknowledging what our kids are telling us and supporting them unconditionally. And I think that that's the number one thing that has to happen.
Mm,
I'm
thank you
sorry.
for sharing that. And yeah, well,
So this is meaning like I will listen to, and if I feel I can't deal with it, the answer will never be like, no, sorry, but no. But it's like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
can't deal with this. Let's look for someone who can help us.
I'm not going to doubt you. I'm going to love you. I'm not going to tell you no. I'm going to support you. And wherever we're headed with this, I'm going with you. That's the thing.
Yes, yeah. So this is what I mean. I just hope that it doesn't come ever. But if it comes, I hope it doesn't come with 5 or 7. Like older, it can happen. Yes, and I luckily live in Europe and is extremely open-minded here as compared to what we have in my country, for example. But it's still a hard pathway, and I wouldn't like my kids to go through that.
Yeah.
In terms of like characteristics that I'm proud of, I think I am extremely empathic and unselfish, if that is a word.
altruistic.
Selfless.
Yeah, I
Selfless.
Oh, selfless. Thank you. A bit too much, but yeah, you cannot decide how much you are. It's like it is what it is. And I am also proud to be able to have a masculine energy when I need to have it. For example, in the gym. I feel that when I lift weights, I feel very strong, and I feel that this is a masculine part of myself.
Love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing with us. And just in general, I thank everyone for like keeping or being open to talking about it, because yes, it is a very touchy subject in general. Yeah, Joyce, I'm curious if you had any thoughts on any of the questions.
Well, I mean, as far as the masculine sports and stuff, football came to my mind like Tammy did, but as far as having a child or whatever, of course, that is a touchy subject. I would say absolutely not, but then it's easier to say than it actually happening, and I would probably seek some type of psychological help of some sort to figure it all out. And age would play a huge factor in that as well too, especially if you're young and you say that, like you said, you don't know what life is about. You have no idea. So, there's a lot to weigh in. That is a touchy subject and stuff. But, I mean, for me, I won't have any more kids, but, I have grandkids. So you never know, hopefully not.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, Allison, you said it so beautifully in the sense of just making sure that they know they're loved no matter what and that they're supported. But at the same time, like you said, Melissa, I think even just asking good questions like, okay, why? Or, what's your main incentive? Or how long did you know? And like all these things, if they're like, oh yeah, last week, blah, 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 then okay. Or if they just say like, oh, you can dress cool, like all these things, you
Exactly. So
gotta be
I
able
have
to
an
tell.
example. I remember something now that it happened last week, and it's very simple. It was tiny. It could have escalated, but it didn't. So we went to buy some clothes for Leo in the secondhand store, and we were searching for some shorts because he doesn't have enough, whatever. So they have everything in one of these rails because it's a secondhand shop. You don't have everything extremely classified. They just have per size, anything in the same size, and then they have on the top everything that goes on top, and on the bottom everything that goes on the bottom. So we're searching for shorts, and there was a skirt, and he was like, oh, I want this one. And I thought, and then quickly enough I thought, I'm not gonna make a big deal of this. I just say, Leo, with these you cannot play football.
That's a good point.
Because open, like the shorts are also short, it's fresh, but when you run, it's gonna come up and people is gonna see your underwear, and you don't like that because he's very shy. He doesn't like to be seen in underwear. And he said, oh, that's true, mommy. Oh, that's uncomfortable. Okay, no, I want the short. Finished.
Yeah.
it could have gone deep, like, okay, why do you want a skirt? Who did you see? Or like, do you want to be like mommy? It might be that I want a skirt as mommy does.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen some parents that are like, you want a skirt? I get you a skirt. You want a dress? I get you a dress without making any questions. I've seen boys dressed with skirts and dresses without being like, oh, this is a transgender, anything. It's just like, oh, he asked for it,
They
I
like
got
the
it.
color or they like the whatever
Like,
shape.
because it's tiny. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go and buy boys' clothes, are superheroes or boring. And for girls, you have shiny
Mhm.
rainbows and fluffy stuff. And they also like fluffy stuff. And they
Yeah.
also like tiny. And they also want tiny.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it's a tiny t-shirt, I don't care. But I think the skirt is just inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, that's a good
for climbing, it's not convenient, you know, it's gonna be uncomfortable. And he was like, "Oh, okay, fine, but
yeah,
could have been complicated."
for sure. Very, very, yeah, very interesting what they gravitate to more naturally or not. For me, a sport that came up before American football actually was rugby. For me, that I know that there are many women also playing rugby, but for me, still, it's a very manly sport. And yeah, things like ballet or so in general is more what I would associate with more feminine characteristics. Um as for myself, I think like my, goal focus, if I put my mind onto something or just punctuality or organization, those kind of more masculine traits is definitely something I am proud of. But more the that I can really enjoy small things and really be in the moment and like sensual experiences like when I have a good cup of coffee or I can savor one or two pieces of chocolate and be like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And men are like, or like they scull their espresso or whatever. And I'm like, how? Like I can sit here with my cup of coffee for 30 minutes and just like listen to the birds and be away with the fairies and so I think yeah, as you put it so nicely, Allison, just that mixture of both is what makes all of us beautiful, really. So yeah, again, thanks for being open to topics like this also. I really appreciated it. And yeah, I'll be sending through next week's paper, which is actually the one that you suggested, Melissa, with the magnesium. So I look forward to discussing it then, and I hope you all have a nice rest of your day or evening.
Thank you. It was a nice paper.
Bye.